Today I will try to slowly explain you what we at Data42 see about AI, what we think about AI, and also how we can truly use AI for every regular operation in terms of analytics. Maybe just a question before I jump into the presentation. How many of you are within the analytics space? That's okay. I think the majority will hopefully understand what I'm trying to explain. So basically, if we talk about AI, most people think about Siri, Cortana, all the personal assistances. That's true. But we see AI is moving continuously in our lives. So we even do not notice that anymore. So we see every day new products, new ideas arising, right? So that's, I think, mostly thanks to the technical progress we have seen over the last years with cloud computing. Big vendors like Google, like Microsoft, they are producing solutions to democratize AI. That means nowadays it's very simple to really build new solutions, even if you're not operating in the space of IT. So even if you have no clue about artificial intelligence, you can easily use services provided by any cloud. So that truly helps each company to transform itself and to be just better, offering new business models, making really innovative approaches. So I think that's essentially what the big players have already recognized probably 8 till 10 years ago. So, but on the other side, AI has been associated all the time with things like Terminator, Wall-E, the cute garbage collecting robot, as you probably know. So, but we are really trying to not see AI from that perspective. We're trying to see AI very down-to-earth approach. So that's what we are really trying to do. So my question is to myself and to all and to each of this audience: how can we use artificial intelligence really to make our lives better in terms of analytics? So the answer might be cognitive computing. I know people talk about cognitive computing. We see that frequently appearing in the banners and everywhere. But what is cognitive computing? It's not that easy to find the right explanation for that. You will find definitions, but I'm just trying to give it a shot how I would define cognitive computing. And by the way, that's the engine what we are all trying to use underneath our application. So cognitive computing is everything which is related to machine learning, to deep learning, to data mining, to everything which is like a computer system that simulates the human thought process. So, and the most important thing is, you are not giving a concrete problem to the computing system. You just feed this cognitive system with data, with external impressions like feelings, like pictures that are going to be captured, with voice that is going to be captured, and the cognitive system learns on its own. That's where, in any years ahead, true innovation will really begin. So that's for the part of our application. So and essentially that can be compared to something like the relationship between a child or even a baby and a grown-up person. Because if you consider any deep neural net or whatever, those systems, they have zero experience, just like a small child. So a small child is not really able to detect, okay, that's fire is hot, I will burn my fingers, right? But on the other side, the grown-up person, which is the equivalent to a very established neural net or any other model, knows already and has collected experience. So that means if you are starting any project, you really need to make sure the data is there. If you don't have the data, it will be very, very possible to start creating and deriving any insights and detecting patterns. So I think that's an important point. And on the other side, I will now try to do the bridge between what we have with cognitive computing, so to create the bridge, and where we are now with our approach. So we see that if you are a marketing analyst, which is a very practical scenario, we assume now I'm a marketing analyst, and I would like to identify the right channel for the right customer, because we know if you target a customer directly and personally, if you know the traits and if you know the preferences of a customer, you will have a 7 times higher probability to be successful than if you have a generic approach to the customer, which is very simple. So how can we do this? Usually, you need to do some marketing stuff, you need to do customer segmentation, you might run surveys, you might do really repetitive, boring stuff. And nowadays, I think it's not the time anymore to do boring stuff. We should really start doing something which is more exciting to us. We should try to give the AI everything which is repetitive and which has to be reliant in quality, so that we as human beings can really sit back and do the creative, cool stuff. And I think that's why we should use the AI for those things. So I explained to you like all these steps which are required. You might also, in terms of marketing analysis, you might also consider a company that does marketing institute research, like, okay, we will do surveys, we will do all that stuff. You see, it's very long. And at the end, you have your right channels, but what's the result? The result is you need to repeat that on and on, because people change, traits change, everything changes. So that means it's repetitive. On this path, you could think of having an AI that is just considering what you tell the AI, and everything does happen magically. And there is even not that stupid and boring conversation as you have in personal meetings with people, where people have like beliefs. I don't want to do this, I want to do this. No boring coffee breaks, no cigarette breaks. So that's where the AI comes in, because the AI is reliant, and it will just do the job as you tell him. Because I mean, that's probably one of the biggest advantages of using computers. They don't need breaks. That's probably a very big advantage. And they're always concentrated. Nowadays, human beings are, I think, on average 20 seconds concentrated on one particular task. Just 20 seconds. Thanks to social media, and thanks to all the great things. I think in average, each email you receive distracts you from the work around 5 minutes, each email. So why should we not just externalize all boring stuff like doing analysis, data analysis, to an AI? So that means essentially that is just one sample. If you are now operating in marketing and marketing analysis, but how can we now do something which is wider, which has a broad spectrum? Let's say you are any person who is interested in learning and understanding the data. Why should we not be in a position just to lean back, tell the software, dear software, I would like you to give me my potentials. I would like you to do the forecast, everything which is related to data science. And it does happen automatically. That's where we want to go, and that's where we are going right now. Because if we do this appropriately, I think that can be a huge game changer in the space of analytics. So if I sum up everything what I said right now, I would say one expression that's really fitting that explanation is autonomous analytics. And that's something where we are really working on. We're working on a system that produces autonomous analytics. compared to an autonomous car, you sit back, you say, car, bring me to the next airport. So if you transfer that to data analytics, it's probably the same story. So what's included in this? It's everything like pattern recognition, anomaly detection, all those things that happen underneath. And why are we doing this? The reason is it's very hard to find data scientists. It's hard to find people that really understand the domain. It's not about the mathematics. That's legacy. But really understanding what's driving your business. That's the big part. And I think that still human beings should be enabled with this small AI bit, but still gaining and collecting further the knowledge of their domain. And if you compare, if you stick all together, you essentially get something which is augmented intelligence. Because we deliver the data, but then it's up to the human being to decide, well, is it right or is it wrong? Maybe it can be not good. Maybe the model is just any model, as the most of you know. So, and now to put that more down to earth again, we're working in crisis prevention and detection. This is a very wide range, so meaning that in that space, you will find very rarely people with deep knowledge in data science. So that's a great field to say, okay, we can help you guys with automated analytics. So imagine what would happen if we 3 or 4 years ago would be able to predict the refugee movement in Middle East and North Africa. Well, the states, so Germany and the Western countries, could be much better prepared with medical care, with beds, and all this stuff. So the data shows that. We have proven that. The data shows that the movement has been already in place, even though people did not report that. So small things can make a big impact. And I think it's really important for each of us to ask yourself, how can AI contribute to a better world? That's our contribution through crisis detection, but it is not the only one thing. So we might do something else tomorrow. So I really believe that AI will be everywhere. It's already commodity, and it will be even more commodity. So if you just think of home banking, heavily discussed in the 90s, people were, oh no, it's not safe, don't use it, you will lose your money. Nowadays, everybody uses that. I mean, we can take all the examples, smartphones, everything has been heavily discussed, but nowadays, commodity. And that will happen with AI, definitely. So we now need to think of how can we use that to make our lives better. And I would like to close this short speech with our guiding principles, transparency of algorithms, and the responsibility of the actions you do with data lies in the hands of each individual. So that means the system cannot be responsible for the actions human beings take. It always resides at the human beings. Thank you.